Nerdbots.
Welcome to another episode of Five Things, and 'tis the season of firsts this season. So we're having two Christmas specials, and this episode is the Guilty Pleasure Christmas episode. And joining me is my lovely co-host, Charlie Johnston, Mr. Chetty.
Guilty pleasures. Ooh la la.
I am inevitable.
The term guilty pleasure has existed since the 1700s, and it was used as a shameful connotation. In 1860, the term first appeared in the New York Times in association with the brothel. Now, over time, it has transformed into something that a person enjoys but feels bad for indulging in. And by the 1980s, the meaning began to transform into more what we think of today and how it relates to pop culture. In fact, the New York Times has used the term 7,981 times, and it's been used 7,968 times since 1996. Now, the rise of the internet, and of course, people gathering together to share their opinions on pop culture topics, solidified its meaning. Now, a person enjoying a movie, TV show, song, or album, despite knowing that it is not generally held in high regard by others. Sometimes it could even be something that is unusual and weird. Or, for our episode, we're going by Rotten Tomatoes. And 'tis the season, and there are some bad and god-awful Christmas films out there, and some of those bad ones are classics. We are about to jump into episode 2 of the Christmas special. And with us today from the Popcorn Confessional, it is Jenn.
Hi, Jen. How are you and your beautiful little ears? Look at you, all glowing and rhythmic. Now, guys, don't you have something going on in March that you might want to share with the Nerdbox community? I mean, I know usually, typically we do a little bit of a, what you got going on moment here, but you two, in fact, have something happening. So why don't you explain it to us?
Nerdbox will be having Paranormal Month, and Jenn will be narrating a new show called Nerdbox Paranormal. So if you're seeing this and you have a story about the Ouija board, shoot that over to us. It may be featured on that season.
All right, folks. So this is in typical Five Things fashion. We're going to be going through our lists, and you may not like it, you may like it, I don't know, but the way it works is very similar to a round table. Our guest will begin, and we will go in somewhat of a circular, I guess a triangular fashion. When you think about it, there's three of us, there's three different opinions, three sides of a triangle, that kind of a thing. The topic today is Christmas guilty pleasures. Now, for me, these are the movies that you're a little ashamed to admit you like, but you watch them anyway. Jen, what do you got for your number 5?
Okay, well, to start off, I would like to say that I feel no shame and no guilt in the movies that I pick. I enjoy every second of them, and I don't care who knows. My number 5 is from 2013, and it is Tyler Perry's A Medea Christmas. With audiences, it actually didn't score so bad. With audiences, it scored a 70%, but Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 20% because they suck.
I have learned anything from doing these podcasts with especially the two of you is that you just can't go by that shit. And if current events have anything to speak of it, like with some new movies that are out right now that are getting shit on by critics but seem to be loved by fans, it's like a new day for me. I'm just saying it. I'm just going to start giving things a shot and screw the critics, screw however it works. That's just my opinion. I was just a very Medea Christmas, right? That's what we're talking about here.
It's just a Medea Christmas. It's Tyler Perry's Medea Christmas, which of course stars Tyler Perry as a big Black woman, Medea. And I love him as Medea, probably more than I do as himself. And it also has Kathy Najimy and Larry the Cable Guy, who was surprisingly, I don't really follow much of his stuff, but he was really funny in this movie. I mean, basically, it's a Black girl who marries a white guy. She's trying to keep it a secret. And then, shit gets a little messed up and Medea threatens some people, as she usually does. Yeah, I don't know. It's just fun for me. I love to watch it. I laugh every single time I watch it.
I didn't know Larry the Cable Guy was in it. I think that would be worth the price of admission just to see Medea, that character, and then the loud Larry the Cable Guy character, like the two of them.
They were great together. I'm sure they were really fun together.
Number 5, Jingle All the Way.
Oh, good one.
Jingle All the Way. And I got to tell you, it barely holds up. And what I mean by that is it's kind of a trash movie. You know what I mean? Really, let's being honest. It's not really well made. It's got Sinbad in it, which, I mean, whatever. The guy gets a bad rap. He was funny. He had his time. He really did.
That poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, can we lay off Sinbad for one? It's been 30 fucking years. Like, come on, give the guy his due. He was funny for a period of time. He had HBO comedy specials. Anyway, I digress. You got Schwarzenegger. He's an executive. He's got too much. He doesn't have enough time to spend with his kid, and it's Christmas, and his kid wants the toy. So he's trying to get the toy. He's doing everything he can. He meets Sinbad's character, who is also trying to do for his kid and all that kind of stuff. His neighbor, played by the late, great Phil Hartman, is trying to get into his wife's pants the whole time, and he's a real sleazeball. But, the big payoff at the end is seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger, who at the time was a real-life kind of superhero, to see him actually in the latex sort of outfit playing a superhero. And I don't know, like, he looked good in the suit. It's a little bit of a guilty pleasure, but it's a great movie. It's a good Christmas movie. I think y'all should watch it if you haven't. I'm sure everyone has.
I mean, totally. I like that movie. It's not on my list. I thought about it, but I like that movie for the cheesiness that it was.
I don't know if it would be made today exactly the same way as it was then, because of the whole bomb scene and the post office and the police. I think that gets left out today.
I do agree with that. I remember watching that thinking, like, that ain't happening after 9/11.
Yep. My number 5 is related to my number 5 in the last episode. It is a remake of Black Christmas. It is complete garbage. It's nothing like the first one, where the first one's about a serial killer. This one is about a guy that beat his mother to death with a rolling pin and then cut out cookie-shaped Christmas cookies out of her skin, cooked it, and then he went to the mental asylum. And now he is broken free and he's going back to his home.
So it's a family movie, is what you're really saying.
Oh, yeah, it's family if you want to keep it all in the family.
Yeah. I bought this movie at Best Buy at Christmas time, and I dropped it on the counter. It's like, man, got to watch this every year. And the cashier's like, what the hell is wrong with you?
It's like you go out of your way to just make people uncomfortable with your movie selections.
Look, it can't be a Child's Play Christmas, all right?
It's not. That's the point. That's the point, Dave. It's not a Child's Play Christmas. Child's Play is Halloween. It's very appropriate. I'm not eating people on Christmas like your movie.
My number 4 is from 2017, and it is Daddy's Home 2.
That's right. That is your
my number 4 too.
Hey, Mazel Tov.
Come on, we got Will Ferrell, we got John Cena, we got Mark Wahlberg, we got Linda Cardellini, John Lithgow. I mean, need I say more? First of all, Rotten Tomatoes, they can just suck it at this point. They gave this movie a 21%. And again, it scored higher than they did with audiences. It scored at a 51%. I scored higher. I am not at all ashamed that I watched this movie and enjoy every second of it. I just love this movie. I mean, it's just basically, blended families trying to come together and create one big Christmas for the kids.
Everyone I ever talked to about that brings it up loves it.
Yeah.
I wonder, like the Rotten Tomatoes score, like that makes like whatever, fuck them, like you said.
Yeah, and you know what? The funny thing is, you have Wahlberg and Farrell in their third movie together, and they're
Mhm.
great.
They're a great team.
Lithgow and Mel Gibson, tremendous. Even John Cena was great in it too.
My number 4. I mentioned in the other Christmas episode that I have a thing with stop motion Christmas movies. A Year Without Santa Claus. I will never stop loving this movie. It's the Heat Miser. It's the Freeze Miser. It's that song. It's for anyone who's been living under a rock for 60 years. The idea is that Santa gets sick, as I recall. Or he doesn't get sick, I'm sorry, but he's tired. He's been doing, and Mrs. Claus is like, you need to just stay home. And they decide to let him have a year off. And Christmas isn't quite the same. There's this really kind of like sad version of Blue Christmas that a little girl does in the movie and whatever. But anyway, no one gives a crap. It's the Heat Miser and Snow Miser song. That's what does it for everybody. But I will always, and really, like I said, all the stop motion Christmas movies I love. Love.
Yeah, it's not a great movie. It's not a great one of the stop motion, but like you said, the Heat Miser song and the Snow Miser, great, and it just sticks out.
It's for me. It's always like I think the favorite always tends to be Rudolph for sure is always that one, and then I think people like what is Santa Claus is Coming to Town or is another really is like a favorite that people tend to have. That's the one I never watch.
The one I couldn't get into was the Drummer Boy. It's like
never once watched it.
Nope.
Christmas with the Cranks. Tim Allen, Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know. I mean, I love Tim Allen as much as I don't want to like Tim Allen because I don't agree with a lot of his crap. He's great. He's funny. And the movie was cheesy. It was meant to be cheesy, but it had a good story and it was cute. And I laughed.
I don't know why people give that movie flack.
This one really got shit on, guys. Like Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 5%. 5.
Really?
Yes, and audience score was only 38%.
That's so weird. That's again, I mean, it's not like Daddy's Home, but I do know people don't like that movie. Like,
yeah,
I didn't think it would be that low. I mean, I figured, I think holiday movies typically just don't score that high anyway. But
yeah,
I don't know. That's kind of nuts. Is that a record?
No.
On my list, it is. That was one of the lowest. It is one of the lowest Rotten Tomato scores out of like all the Christmas movies.
I'm gonna say, who hasn't felt like Tim Allen and needs to take a Christmas off? Man,
exactly.
Think about it. If all your kids move out of the house, and that first Christmas is like, all right, well, they're not coming here to celebrate it. Why would I celebrate it? It's like, for parents, it's like that first Christmas that they don't believe in Santa Claus. It's like, it's a little less magical this year.
At the risk of sounding selfish, but like I'm that's like Dave said, like the magic's a little gone. Like I'm gonna kind of miss like running, like sneaking around, doing the Santa stuff. Like I'm not gonna put out milk and cookies this year.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get fat on a bag of Chips Ahoy. Here's a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. There you go. I didn't even realize that. Trapped in Paradise with Nick Cage, Dana Carvey, and John Lovitz. Never heard of it?
Nope.
I have heard of it, but I have not seen it.
So here's basically the gist of it. They play 3 brothers who are robbers. They're like bank robbers, basically. And if I remember correctly, I think the beginning of the movie is them getting out of prison. And then initially they got to do a heist or whatever. So they find this sleepy little town, which happens to be Paradise, Pennsylvania. Spoiler alert, it does not look like the actual Paradise, Pennsylvania, at least in the Poconos. Just throw that right out there. It's not the same one. So they get to the town and they rob, I think it's a bank, and they're leaving and I think they break down. And then what happens is they have the loot from the robbery. And then when they break down, nobody realizes the guys that robbed the bank or whatever, they get taken in by a family, and the charity of the town spoils it for them. Like everyone helps them. But at the end of the day, they still robbed the bank. Like that happened. It's a throwaway movie, 100%, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And when it was on Comedy Central and before we had streaming, I would sit through it and I didn't hate it. I actually kind of liked it. to be perfectly honest. So that's my number 3. I would recommend watching it once, and then tell me how much you hate it.
It's Fred Claus.
It's not the worst movie in the world.
Yeah,
That's on my honorable mentions.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the worst movie either. I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, I like Paul Giamatti and I like Vince Vaughn, so
I think Paul Giamatti plays a respectable enough Santa Claus, and I like how they have this. He looks kind of like Santa when they do everything, but then they also have this great shitty brother sibling rivalry thing that's like pretty fucking believable.
Yeah, where the parents like favor the one brother more than the other because the one's kind of like a loser in their eyes, and they're like, why can't you be more like your brother? Only your brother's Santa Claus, so who the fucking can measure up to that?
Yeah, I think it kind of gets shit on because it's Vince Vaughn and it's his typical character where he gets his manic moments and delivering comedy. So I think that's why it kind of gets crapped on. But it's a good story.
I think the Vince Vaughn thing, I think that there was just an exhaustion from him after a while because he kind of got roped into that whole Will Ferrell thing. And I don't know that he was supposed to be the biggest star in the world. Like he kind of ended up being it for a period of time.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of like got people was that he just did comedy for so long and it was always the same character. I'll be honest.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll admit that. It's always the same character. He always, he has a different name, but let's face it, the way he delivers his lines, they're all the same. I enjoy him, but I also think he has such range that people don't see and don't remember.
I think we just needed a break from him for a little bit.
So my number 2 is from 2008 and it is 4 Christmases. I mean, it's with Vince Vaughn, it's with Reese Witherspoon, it has Kristen Chenoweth, Tim McGraw, Jon Favreau, a few others, I'm forgetting their names, but whatever. So I don't know, it didn't do great. Rotten Tomatoes was 25% and audience score was 47%. I like the movie. I laugh every time I watch it. I don't know. There's like some heart to it too. There's some creepiness to it, with like the whole Sissy Spacek, like dating her son's former best friend. That's a little creepy. But whatever. She's a cougar. If you got it, you got it. I'm not going to say anything. But I like the movie. I think it's funny.
There's 4 different sets of parent families now.
Yeah.
So you can go one by one to see them on Christmas. And typically what they did is they came up with excuses not to visit their family.
Yes.
And they go on vacation. It's like, oh, I'm in, this third world country helping kids with, putting shoes together, or I'm building huts here. So this movie, this particular Christmas, they are going to inoculate orphans in Burma. I don't know how they come up with this shit, but more power to them. And unfortunately, they live in San Francisco and there's a lot of fog, surprisingly, and they can't fly. So it gets it's on the news because there's so much fog and bad weather, and they get like interviewed and they totally fuck it up on the news, and their family sees them and they're like, you're not really doing this or whatever. And they both come from divorced, broken families. So now they have 4 different families to visit, and they're all messed up in their own way. I mean, you got Reese Witherspoon's parents, whose father was the fuck up and now he's fantastic. He's remarried and he's really good with his grandkids. And then her mom is like this born again Christian dating. Then, his parents, his mom is now like dating his former best friend, which is super creepy. And he wants Vince Vaughn to call him dad. And then Vince Vaughn's dad he's a redneck. He's one of 3 kids and he's a complete redneck. He's funny.
Does he have like the sort of rednecky Southern draw too? Like, is that like the whole thing?
No, not at all.
Oh,
No.
okay. Because I was going to say in my mind, I'm like, Vince Vaughn seems like he's from like Connecticut or something like that. How do you sell that one?
Yeah, I think the funniest part of that movie, there's a couple of them, is when Vince Vaughn gets puked on by the baby. He's like, yeah, take it, take it away.
Take her. Oh, I'm going to puke. Yeah, it was really bad.
All right. Number 2, 1994's Santa Claus. I don't know. I feel like this movie was huge when it came out, and then it kind of went away for a while, and then maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of felt like I kind of like my family anyway, like this rediscovered it a little bit. And I don't know if it's for maybe the same reasons like Jen was saying with Christmas with the Cranks, like Tim Allen is got certain politics these
Yeah.
days, and I think things tend to get a little swept up. You know, you get, I don't want to use the word suppressed, but you know what I'm saying. Like for
Mhm.
whatever the reason, things happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We rewatched this last year. We watched basically the whole trilogy, and with the exception of the third one, which I'm not. I just think the third one's like kind of convoluted. I think it's like it's a lot going on, and it's a way to just shoehorn extra.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. They hold up. Like the first one,
Yeah. I
especially.
think we watch them every Christmas, but I think we only watch 1 and 2 typically.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's actually a guilty pleasure, but I just felt like you hear about a lot of the same movies year after year after year. The Santa Claus series just kind of seemed like it somewhat floated away, and whether that's for politics or whatever the reason is, I felt like last year we just kind of had a way to like rediscover it, and it still holds up. It actually has,
Yeah.
since we've been talking about Rotten Tomatoes, it actually has a 72 on Rotten Tomatoes, which sort of surprised me.
It's why it didn't make my list, only because it scored a lot higher than I thought it would, because I kind of had the same feeling about it that you did.
Yeah.
That it kind of like went on the wayside, but then I looked it up and I was like, well, that scored a little higher than I thought. So yeah.
But
What are you guys smoking? I would have never have thought that movie would have been a low scoring one. Maybe Elf overshadows it now. Maybe that's it. You know, maybe Elf is coming to the forefront as the premier Christmas movie of the modern age.
Hey, our daughters request that every year when we're gonna watch. I mean, like literally the first day that we start watching Christmas movies, they're like, "Can we watch the Santa Claus?" So it still holds up.
Jingle All the Way. I love that movie, and we've talked about it. And it's just a great movie.
it's a good one to watch. All right, folks, we are at that time in the podcast where we are doing the stuff that we wish we could have shoehorned in here, but there were some decisions made. Some things got cut, some things got swapped. We don't know where they all fell, but you're going to hear about them anyway in no particular order. Jen, what are some guilty pleasures that maybe didn't quite make your list?
So I have 3 listed as my honorable mentions, and they are Black Christmas 2006. That one is definitely a guilty pleasure. I'm ashamed that I watched that one.
Oh, you're guilty, all right, both of you.
I am. It is not. It's not a fantastic movie. It's definitely cringy, but we watch it every year, and I enjoy watching it every year because there's something wrong with me, clearly. Second honorable mention guilty pleasure is Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart. Only because it didn't score high with Rotten Tomatoes. It was like a 42%. It does score a lot higher with audiences at a 71%, but the movie's just funny. It's not meant to be anything but that. Like these, and I can relate sort of, high school sucked. And then my third one is Krampus 2015, which actually doesn't score super low, but I like it.
Honorable mentions. I'm not going to go in the order that I have them written, but I'm going to tell you that Fred Claus is there, Dave.
All right.
First movie I ever watched with my wife when we were dating. Okay, so everyone puts Die Hard, right? Lethal Weapon 1 was also a Christmas movie. Thank you very much. No one ever mentions it.
Yes,
Batman Return. It was. It totally.
Yeah.
No, why are we, what's our obsession with Bruce Willis? I don't understand it. Lethal Weapon was also a Christmas movie, and I like Lethal Weapon more than Die Hard 1. I'm just going to be honest with you. Batman Returns, which was also a Christmas movie, and Ernest Saves Christmas. I know, but I love the Ernest movies from when I was a kid. They were the best. You know what I mean, Vern? So, Dave, honorable mentions.
4 Christmases. Just
I
don't
knew
need to have.
that.
And the other one, now, the reason why I was thinking about putting this in, because I felt that there was a challenge thrown out about the lowest score possible on the Christmas
It wasn't
movies.
a challenge. Jesus Christ.
I'm taking it as a challenge.
Okay,
And
of course
this
you are.
one is pretty low. It's got a 7% critic score, and it's got a 30% audience score, and it's Jack Frost. No, not the one with Michael Keaton.
No, I know which one you're talking about.
Oh, you know what, Charlie? This
I
is
didn't
your
know it.
this is your child's play for Christmas, because you have
Oh,
a
is it a
killer.
horror movie?
It's a horror movie, and you have a killer that dies, and he transports his soul into a snowman.
I vaguely remember the fucking cover. God damn, what's wrong with you?
You said child's play was for kids. I'm giving you.
It was Halloween. I
That
don't
doesn't
understand.
make it for kids.
I don't understand why we
Just so
ignore
you know,
the fact.
Charlie, we
Hold
still
on.
talk
No.
about your
Yeah.
My number one is from 2017, and I'm so pissed off that it even got such low scores. A Bad Mom's Christmas.
Wow.
Oh. Yeah, that flame kind of flickered out quick, didn't it? Those Bad Mom movies. How many were there? Was it just 2 or 3?
There was only 2, and that one with critics got a 32%, and audiences gave it a 44%. So they can all just fucking suck it, because
Wow.
I love that movie.
I hate to say this. It felt like it was like, okay, Will Ferrell and Vince Vaughn did their thing. Now it's our turn. It kind of had that feeling to me. Am I wrong? I'm sure the movie's better than that.
No, you're 100% right. They kind of run parallel with each other. And I think I've said to you, Jen, a few times, like, hey, they should kind of just cross them over.
For me, I just kind of like, I relate. Obviously, I'm a mom. So, sometimes we want to be a bad mom. Sometimes I want to go to the mall with my friends and Christmas shop and get fucking drunk. That's how you feel. So.
That's such a refreshing take. On the last Christmas episode, I was broad with this one. I'm very specific here. It is the Benedict Cumberbatch Grinch. This one got dragged through the internet pretty hard because people had a problem with the Grinch not being mean enough. I understand why the Grinch wasn't mean enough, and it's because of the times we live in, and we're supposed to be a little more considerate of people's feelings. He had some mean things. Like his friend there, he treated like shit. I mentioned that in the last episode. In my personal opinion, the Chuck Jones animated one comes first, the Benedict Cumberbatch one comes second, and then the Jim Carrey horror film comes dead last. That's just my opinion. It's not, and to be fair, I liked the Jim Carrey one when I was younger when it came out, but this one definitely replaced it.
Okay, so the one with Benedict Cumberbatch, is that animated?
Yeah, and it's a believable voice for the Grinch. He made it his own. They, rather than making him like snarly and sneery, they kind of made him like British sarcastic a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's a little sly, like a Benedict Cumberbatch, like And
I didn't even know it existed. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it had a 59 Rotten Tomatoes score. Fans are 51, and again, it was the big bitch, as I recall, was just that they didn't like that he wasn't like really nasty and mean. But if you want to be honest, the original Grinch wasn't particularly nasty and mean too. Like he did the same thing. He stole the gifts from the kids. That stuff stays the same. It's like
I think he was just cranky, right? He was just cranky.
He was
like
this is the thing. The whole story, like you guys didn't see it, but like so the big change between all of them is that from the first Chuck Jones ones, it was just he was resentful of the Who's. He goes down there, he steals their presents. The big change is that in the second one, they make it to where like the Grinch has a reason to go to Whoville because motherfucker's got to eat. So he's got to go and mingle with people and get food or whatever. Well, they do that again in this one. But in the Jim Carrey one, he's like downright shitty. Like he's just playing pranks on people for the sake of it. And in this one, it's like there's things, but it's not like he's not like a piece of shit. And people apparently people are like, yeah, he has to punch a baby, and that's the only way we're going to approve of this movie. And I don't know. I thought it was good. I thought Cumberbatch was a good voice for the Grinch, and yeah, I like watching it. I like watching it with my kid. I don't care what anyone says.
So my number one's been said, and I have to say, of all the movies that has such low scores and gets flack, this is the one that I would fight somebody on. I think. I'm going on Facebook. I'll respond to you on Facebook if you're going to give this movie hate because I don't get it because it's a good movie. And it's Christmas with the Cranks. I at least watch it 2 or 3 times a year during the season. If it's on, it's staying on. It's
Mhm.
a good movie. It's a funny movie.
I have to watch it because you guys, that's both of you guys had it on your list. And I just never, well, for reasons we discussed, I just never was in front of me for some reason. So, well, I think that's our list, folks. That's our top 5 Christmas guilty pleasures. What's your top 5 guilty pleasure movies? Put them in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. I want to thank our wonderful guest with the pretty little glowy ears, Jenn. Didn't even mention the ears. I don't think. They're stellar. They're stellar. They got a little. They do that thing. It's great. It's great. Dave, I'm going to be honest with you. That's a black Santa hat.
Yeah.
You look like you're wearing a do-rag. It blends right in with the background. I'm putting you on the spot right now. I let it go the whole time. There you go. Yeah. Throwing some DMX. I'm gonna give it to you. Dave, give it to you. What?
Oh, we can change that. It's a Christmas episode. We could sing it as Santa's gonna give it to you.
Santa's gonna give it to you. We're gonna give it to you. Cookies and milk. Cookies and milk. Rudolph, pull the sleigh. Again, let's talk a little bit for a second before we go about what you guys have going on in March.
It is Paranormal Month. So we are going to be doing 10 episodes on Nerdbox Paranormal, where we're talking about stories submitted by you on the Ouija board. There are some really scary stories out there that we want to share with everybody that hasn't been heard already, and that's what we're looking for. So if you have a story about the Ouija board, send it in. And then over on the John and Jean's Shot of Espresso, you're going to hear ghost stories from our friends and family of Nerdbox. So you'll hear from celebrities, you'll hear from filmmakers, you'll hear from actors, writers. They'll be submitting their stories as well. So it'll be Paranormal Month, and we're going to declare that month as Paranormal Month going forward.
We'll each have a personal experience that we will talk about with the Ouija board.
Anyway, folks, this has been 5 Things. I've been Charlie.
This is Dave.
And our guest,
Jenn.
We really appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe. See ya.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Santa's gonna give it to you. We're gonna give it to you. Cookies and milk. Cookies and milk. Rudolph, pull the sleigh.